Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Painless Universal, a conversation with myself and Welsh. Today, I'll be talking to university students, Abbie and Mary. They're sisters. And what strikes me and really fascinates me is in everything going on in today's world, there's so many people having that debate about going to university or not, or how do you get into university? Because it's so challenging to get into university. You have to work so hard. These girls have worked very hard and got themselves into Oxford University. If you know Oxford, you know it's one of the elite universities of the world. And they didn't come from, where parents went to Oxford University. They came from humble beginnings and they worked their way towards Oxford University. I'm so proud of them, and I had to talk to them about the struggles and pain they went through to get to themselves where they are today. In our discussion, we'll also be talking about the coronavirus issues at university. You've seen the media, seen how difficult it is for students at university to deal with this challenge and what this is causing them. Not just them, but other students around. Meet my wonderful girls, Abbie and Mary, who call themselves Sisters at Oxford on their blog page and Instagram page. And super excited to talk to them. Meet Abbie and Mary. Welcome everyone to Painless Universal, conversation with myself and Welsh. I have, as I said in my introduction, Mary and Abbie. Thank you girls for joining me. And where are you right now?
I'm actually in North Wales, in our home in North Wales, yeah.
Oh, and you?
And I'm actually in Oxford, so we're separated at the moment.
I know. Are you going back? Are you any plans to go back, Abbie?
Yeah, I'll be going back in October. Start of October, so not too long.
And I had to reach out to you ladies because, not because just of the coronavirus, I wanted to reach out to you guys. You guys come from humble beginnings, and I remember my days of going into university. I remember how challenging it was, especially, coming from humble beginnings and having a chronic illness. But I was always so determined to go into university because I just feel university gives you that clearer pathway to know where you need to go. And I could have done my A-levels and stopped there, but I just thought that there was something missing and I needed that clearer pathway. And university gave me that. And a lot of people question, should university still exist? And I am one of those strong believers that you need that, even though you get the A-levels, you still need that clearer pathway. And another thing I like about your page is that you're very honest in your blog posts, especially. You girls blog about the A-levels because a lot of kids suffer. They go through that hardship worrying about how do I get that A's, how do I get that grades. You talk about freshman year, what was like. You talk about being girls at university. You're not shy to talk about very important subject, which I wish I knew at the time when I was going into university today. We're going to get into all of that because I'm super excited to touch into details of why you girls started all these things. But before we go there, tell me a little bit about yourself, Mary and Abbie. Who are you girls, and why are you girls this super exciting girls, crazy girls? Like, hello, welcome to our crazy life. Tell me a little bit about this Mary and Abbie's crazy life. Who are you girls?
I'm Mary. I'm the older sister, but I'm 5'1", so you'd never guess because Abbie is a lot taller than me. I'm going into my third year at Oxford studying biochemistry at Somerville College. My life is mainly Oxford and workload and things like that. But I also love to sing in my spare time. We come from quite humble, like you said, humble beginnings. We're from a small town in North Wales. We went to a North Wales state school. We're from a single parent family with low income. So Oxford was never a clear path for us to. It wasn't a thing that we were born to do. We just found it along our journey of growing up, and when we realized that Oxford was an option for people like us, we just worked and worked and worked until we got our dreams. So
Abbie, anything to add in there?
Definitely. I think just in terms of picking Oxford over other universities, I think for me, I just wanted to go somewhere completely different from home. And I basically just wanted to have the experiences and basically an education which was world leading. And it just also, I wanted to show that despite your background, you know, anything is possible if you work hard enough and you believe in yourself and you set your mind to it. So I think, yeah, just trying to make that message clear to everyone is so important to us too. Yeah.
I have to ask you, because I come from humble beginnings as well. How did you motivate yourself? It's not just me asking. There are tons of people out there. How did you motivate yourself to say, this is what I want to do? How did you know this is the step that you wanted to do? Because I know I'm trying to deepen your brains, and I need it. I need it for so many others who are out there. Even my own son, you know, he's still 11, but one day he's already we talked about university, and he's really excited one day he wants to go to university when the time is right. But how do you bring that motivation into yourself and say to yourself, even though I come from humble beginnings, I'm still going to do what others least expect from me?
Yeah, it can be so difficult to motivate yourself. And especially now more than ever, it's so hard to motivate yourself to, you know, yeah, do anything really. Yeah. But I think the important thing is to have an aim, have a direction. And as long as you keep working towards that, you will always be motivated. So like Oxford for me was my dream. And so that thought was always in the back of my head. And whatever I do now is going to contribute towards me reaching my dream. And so every time I wanted to just sit down and relax and, you know, not do my homework for that evening, I think, Mary, think of Oxford and think of what your life could be in a few years' time. Is doing your homework worth that? And yeah, it always was. So that motivated me to get to Oxford anyway. Yeah, so to reach that dream.
I think the biggest sort of motivation for us as well was definitely our mum. Like she was so helpful, and I think she always said to us, you know, whatever you put your mind to, you can achieve it, and you just need to go for it. And you know, I think with that mindset, it kind of, yeah, that was our way forward. And so we have, I'm Mary, you'll agree with me, like we have so much to owe to our mum. You know, especially when you come from a school or whatever, which sort of is always sort of putting barriers in your way or obstacles, which is like, you know, don't do this, maybe don't do this, or you're not cut out for something like this. Yeah, it's really helpful to have family members who are so supportive and friends who are so supportive.
I think that you girls really hit the nail on the head. Your family members really make a huge difference, because they're the one who would still believe in you when everyone else have their little doubt here and there saying to you. So when it came to the process of applying for UCAS and with all that doubt, what stood you apart when you went through that process? What did you do that made you stand out from the other people who had all that preparation? That probably you won't have as much preparation, because obviously you just, you know, you stick to what you have, but not knowing, people don't realize when you stick to what you have, everything comes from internal. You have to put that extra work. What separated you when you went through that process at UCAS and interviews? How did you stand apart from them?
I think what you just said is so correct. It's about you putting in that extra work, because that's what we've got to do. We don't just get it handed on a plate to us from a state school, you know. So for me, it was about doing research when I got home from school for different events I could go to or lectures. And from that, I found summer schools offered by Oxford and Cambridge for state school people just like me. So I did a biochemistry one at Oxford and a chemistry one at Cambridge. But it was just searching and doing everything yourself, because nobody's going to do it for you. And like I said, my school didn't know much about Oxford or Cambridge at all. It wasn't that they didn't want to help, they just didn't know a lot about it. So yeah, it is a lot of your own work, definitely.
Wow. I would like to ask one of you, the focus of our conversation today is also about being now in university, and there's so much, it's different from, okay, let me not even jump into the coronavirus, because I still want to know. I'm still desperate. People ask me, Anne, why do you find this subject so fascinating? What is it that drives you to talk about this challenge? I say to people, university is a fascinating place, but actually can be challenging as well, especially when you've not been taught about it. You know, people say, oh yeah, you go to school, but you're not taught about being in this new world. When you first moved in to university, especially you, Mary, because I'm sure you did it first before Abbie joined you, how was it? living away from home. And also, both of you, when they said you got accepted onto to the university, because I remember when you get the letter and it says you've been accepted, please tell me, share that dreams with me. How did you react to that?
Oh, for me, I just remember I thought one of my interviews at Oxford went okay, and the other one, I cried my eyes out after it. I thought, there's no way I'm getting into Oxford, there's no way. So when I got that email at like half eight, I think it was half eight, in January, early January, me and Abbie both went into the computer room in school and just opened the email, and I just cried. I could not believe my eyes, and it was so nice to share it with Abbie as well, because she had the same dream, and so I think that may have motivated you more, I guess, to see that happening and to know that it is possible. It was probably one of the best days of my life. That feeling is just undescribable. It's just insane. But yeah, I don't know how it was for you, Abs, because I wasn't actually there for you, was I?
Yeah, I mean, my experience was slightly different because I didn't get an email through until midday. So I was kind of sitting surrounded by all my friends waiting for this email to come through, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not in, and same as Mary, I didn't do amazing in one of my interviews and I did all right in the other. So I was like really an ahhing. But as soon as I got it, I just burst out into tears, and I was crying. I ran to the front of the school and I called up Mary. I think you were in a lecture, Mary. But like, yeah, I was just so overwhelmed and happy. Like, it's probably the best feeling I think I've ever had in my life. I was so happy. It was amazing.
No, so I can imagine that feeling. But going into university, what were the challenges that when you faced when you went in for the first time? Because I don't know if you lived, if you went, how it was when you at boarding school. Did you go? This was your first time actually living out. How was that? Did you live out? Was it challenging? What were the pains you had to bear to overcome and say, look, I know this is different, but I'm still going to do it?
I think this was the same for both of us, because we're both such family girls. We love, like, we're so close to our mum, brother, and nan and granddad. That was probably the hardest thing, because obviously we live in North Wales, which is at least a 2.5 hour drive away from Oxford. So that was definitely a hard thing, to move away from home. But our mum's always been very much like, you've just got to adapt. You've just got to, whenever you feel low, or miss us, you've just got to get a grip and just think, I'm here and I've got to do what I've got to do, and just look forward. And I think that's always really great advice. My mum's voice is always in my head of every time I feel a bit low. She's like, Mary, everything's okay, So that is tricky. And also this new environment. No matter, we went to summer school, so we did experience a bit of Oxford to kind of know what life is like. But nothing will really prepare you for living in that completely different culture to what we were used to in our, little house in North Wales. So yeah, it could be tricky. And meeting all these people from a range of backgrounds. It's not very a diverse area where we're from. So communicating with all these different people and trying to make friends, it all was very, very tricky. But yeah, you just got to do it, and you just do. And it all seemed to work out perfectly, really.
Yeah, I think I'll just say, like, initially for me it was quite a culture shock because I'm so used to sort of quite humble. It's you know what life is like at home. You just have all your friends and stuff, and then suddenly you're just thrown into an environment which is just so different, and you have to make new friends. You're mixing with people who are from different socioeconomic backgrounds. They've had different upbringings, they have different values, different morals, and it's just trying to link in, see who is the right person for you, seeing what you enjoy whilst you're there. And it's something you've got to adapt to really quickly when you get to university. Luckily for me, actually, I actually did the Camp America scheme. So I lived in New York for 3 months beforehand. So I sort of had a taste of making new friends and living in a different sort of environment, adapted to a different sort of lifestyle beforehand, before I got to university. So that really helped me, I think.
You guys are quite lucky. You're not, you went past the coronavirus in the sense that you're not going into university now, which a lot of students going in this time out, are absolutely struggling. I see you give tips I want your tips for young students who are out there, the ones who are starting university. They started in September, but they're absolutely struggling because this has been a real challenge for them, not being able to be in class, like experience what you experienced. Do you remember when you first started? It was so much fun. You experienced it, but everything went well. What would be your tips from someone who's already been at the university, but seeing these people not struggling? What would be your tips for helping them to get by and cope with this difficult, challenging time right now?
I I'd say for me, I think it's just to try and adopt a positive outlook. Like right now things might not seem perfect, and I think a lot of freshers especially will struggle with the fact that they're confined to their rooms. The social life is reduced, and it's, when I think about it, I feel so sorry for the freshers. But I think it's just keeping it in mind that this is a temporary thing, and that life will get back, will get better. It will go back to normal, in the future. And I think having that idea that there's something you can work towards, there's a goal you can work towards, there is an end date, I think is something that they just need to keep reminding themselves. And I know the universities, across the country are trying their hardest to try and implement safety rules and stuff, as well as trying to mix in fun and helpful advice. And I know Oxford as well has a really good welfare scheme, so if students are suffering with any issues, maybe they're struggling with their work or they're just feeling a bit down, there's a lot in place in the university at the moment to really help people. So I think, yeah, it's just having that support network is so important at the present, and I think universities are really trying to implement that at the moment.
Yeah, I think similar to what Abbie said, look for the positives. And also there's so many other options of ways you can socialise. I know being together on Zoom isn't the same, but you learn so many skills by going through this hardship. I mean, adaptability is a key skill for any job in the future. And if you can show to an employer that you've been adaptable in this way and you've gone through, I mean, maybe a year of university in this weird coronavirus pandemic world, and especially your freshers year, which is when you're trying to adapt anyway, and it's all completely different to what you know. I think it will help people out in the long run, and it may seem a little bit grim at the time, but in the future you'll be able to deal with a lot, more than people who maybe entered at my time will be able to. So yeah, I think just stay positive, be as sociable as you can in whatever way people have got in place, and enjoy yourself, because you're only going to be at university once, maybe twice or three times, who knows, but I mean normally only once.
What about the younger students, those going through A levels, but are going out, coming from humble beginnings and not quite sure? Because I know a lot of people in that category. They're in humble beginnings and they're not quite sure how to apply, if they even have a chance. They, like you guys have said, your university, I mean your college and schools, when very supportive, because it's not they didn't want to, it's just they didn't know how to. What would be your real advice to these guys to encourage them to say you could step out of that comfort zone? What would you say?
Oh, just believe in yourself. That's half the battle, I think. I think that's one of the main things we want to get through from our Instagram, is that you can do it. And if you believe you can, you're half the way there. Because once you know that that's an option, you can then put the work in and, look for these summer schools and, do the readings you need to do. But yeah, just believe in yourself. It doesn't matter where your background is. We all deserve to get the best out of life. And so, yeah, you can do it. That's the big thing. You can do it.
Hey, one of you got 5 A stars.
Yeah, that was me.
That was not me.
What did you do? Did you work night and day, or you just like and when your school saw that, what did they say?
Honestly, that still shocks me. Like when I opened my exam results, I was mind blown, honestly. I guess it came at the sacrifice of my social life. So I did have a reduced social life at A levels. Like I still did socialize, but yeah, Oxford, like Mary said, has always been such a really huge goal, and I think just having that as like a constant reminder, always there as something to just work towards, I think that really did help. And I would, like you say, work quite a lot. I'd work quite a lot during the day. All my free periods, I'd be there, head down in the books, and in the evenings as well, I'd be there doing extra reading or trying to write up some decent notes, revising. So yeah, I mean, I was actually in America when I got my results, so I think Mary, you described the teachers were all quite overwhelmed and shocked. I think you said that our head teacher looked like he was quite emotional. But yeah, just the feeling of getting the results as well was just absolutely indescribable, and I was just so happy. I just couldn't actually believe my eyes.
I'm really glad that you girls are really really representing other people who are, who are going through difficult challenges, thinking they can never be where they need to be because they just have never had that word. But you've really shined the light that it's all about believing in yourself and seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, that just have that vision of where you want to be, if that's what I'm correct. And seeing that I want to be here. I think I look at my days when I started work at Lehman Brothers. I knew I wanted to be an investment bank and I just couldn't take anything, no for an answer. And I think when you have that vision, I want to be here, it helps so much. And it's now about creating that pathway, how you get there. You just need that, girls. I don't know if you agree in that. Having that vision really, really helps in the long run. Because when you, like you girls, the way I see it, the way I'm listening to this interview is like, you always knew one of the things you clearly wanted to do is that you wanted to go to Oxford. How you got there that's a different story, because it's all about the next step. Let's start working hard towards to get that, achieving that dream. And I really applaud you for that. Before I close, the coronavirus, personally, has it impacted you girls in university at all? And how have you coped to move yourself away from this distraction that it's being caused by the coronavirus? Because you might see there might be a second wave, your university might be locked down, like so many universities right now are on lockdown. You girls might be it next, I don't know. How are you going to cope, and how do you see yourself moving forward to an area of positivity if this continues for a very long time?
I mean, so it's actually impacted my degree quite closely. So my degree is very practical based. I do earth sciences. So I'm supposed to be doing, I was supposed to do a field trip to Arran in Scotland during the Easter holidays, and I was supposed to go to Dorset a couple of weeks ago actually, but unfortunately they were both cancelled because of the coronavirus. And so yeah, luckily like the department has now decided to make them virtual, so they're all virtual now. But I feel like there's key skills that you learn on those field trips, which especially with things like mapping, which is a really important part of our course, which might affect me, have a knock-on effect for my degree in the future. But then I think it's just having this sort of resilience and remembering that you are not alone. All the people on my course are in the same boat. We've all missed out on these opportunities. We're all going to be at the same skill level. I think it's just having that knowledge that you're not alone and just trying to stay positive, because I know I was quite upset when the field trips were cancelled, but I think the fact that the university's tried so hard to try and implement some like change to try and still bring in those key skills and teaching is something which I think has made me feel a lot better. Don't know if you want to say anything, Mary.
Yeah, I think the uncertainty is scary, and I am worried for this year because I have my finals exams. So, this is most of my degrees dependent on these exams. And we don't know at this point whether they're going to be online or in person, because we don't know where the coronavirus is going to be at in the summer. And so trying to do it online is a whole new way of learning and revising to what I've known before. So I am quite scared for that, I'm not going to lie. But I think, like Abbie said, it's just trying to look for the positives. And with or without coronavirus, I still have my same goal of getting my degree and, going into a job I'd quite like to go into business and like startup space. So that is my goal. So once again, I'm working towards that goal. And coronavirus, just like our socioeconomic background and our state school, is once again just another barrier that can be overcome. And so yeah, I think just keeping on our path of what we want to do in life and staying positive throughout it is important. And even simple things like having a routine, waking up at a similar time each day and going to bed at a similar time each night, and having set times to do your work can be so great to help motivate you and get you through this time when you're probably doing lectures in your room. So yeah, there's lots of little things you can do, but I think that big thing is just keeping an eye on your goals and working towards that.
My final question, girls, what's your hope and inspiration for people from poor, low-income background, people who don't believe in science? What's your hope to get more girls like yourself, to see them in those, very male-dominating area fields? And you both have not let that scare you. You're like so determined and really hopeful. So there's this STEM, you're pushing towards that. You're from low income, but that didn't stop you. What is your hope from everything you've experienced? What's your hope for others?
I think my hope for others is that people, no matter what their background is, can believe in themselves to get to where they want to be. I've seen people who are from my position and have never had any aspirations higher than, I don't know, working in the local shop, which is so fine if that's what they want to do. But when they can achieve so much more if they wanted to, it's just a shame. And I've seen people from my background do incredible things. And so I'd like for everybody to know that they can achieve anything they want to in life. And also, like you said about women in STEM, I think this is such an important issue. And also because I'm more interested in the businessy space at the moment, you also see such a disparity there as well. It's a very male-dominated area, and I think it's so important for women, for us now, to be the change. And if we can, through our social media, inspire other girls to do the same and recognise that there is an issue, but that issue is not going to go until more and more girls apply for these STEM or business roles. Yeah, I just think we're being the change, and we need to encourage more of a change. And that's where my hope for the future is, that yeah, people from all backgrounds and all genders can get to wherever they want to be in life.
Wonderful. Abbie, I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, I just say I think it's about, right now, as you said, Mary, being the change. It's about fighting those stereotypes that, to be an engineer you have to be male, or to be a manager of a business you have to be male. I think that's just something we have to tackle, and I think it's happening. It is happening. We are seeing more women in STEM. Like, my degree now it's quite engineering, physics, maths based, and we're seeing a 50-50 split at the moment of male to female. But obviously it's much more disproportionate in things like computer science and engineering. And I think it's maybe just trying to make it clear to women that this is for you. It's male and female. Like, don't just think, oh no, I can't do this because it's male dominated. Absolutely not. And we are making small steps, but at least it is a gain. So, and I think just working towards that is the most important thing, and just realizing that, like you said, Mary, with despite backgrounds, religions, ethnicity, gender, go for it. You can do it. Everything is equal here. We can all achieve whatever we want to if we put our minds to it.
Wow, I am absolutely honored to have you both with me today. You don't realize what this means to me, and it's just because I know how many people this will help. We don't realize we help people in our own small way, and you girls are doing amazing. You didn't just go to university and shut the door for others, which a lot of people do. They don't really give you that tips and help to help others to go into. You tell people how to apply for UCAS. You tell them about how to get A stars. You tell them freshman year. You give them all these little tips to really guide people through. I really applaud you, and I really please tell you, keep shining, because there's not many people doing what you're doing. People do it and they don't remember to blog about it. There's one thing doing it, but there's another thing inspiring others to keep doing. You created a website, you have the Instagram page. Well done, girls. I'm really, really delightful to speak to you, and I urge you to keep doing what you're doing. Mary, Abbie, thank you so much, and I will definitely be in touch next year to see how things go, and if there's any updates with the situation, I would love to talk to you about it again. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having us. It's been a real honor. Thank you.
Okay. I'm really delighted.